Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of What's Yours is Mine. Today, we're going to be talking about all things Disney parks. McKenna and I are really big fans, and I guess we're going to introduce you all to the fun. We're going to be discussing the Disney College Program, the current state of my favorite park, that is Epcot, our dream Disney park rides, and first, we're going to be talking about Disneyland and its recent reopening. So, McKenna, how you doing?
I'm doing. Had a really rough morning at work, but I'm excited to record. So,
Very nice.
yep.
Okay, well, guess why don't we get into it then? So the big talk of the town is that Disneyland is finally open again.
Yes. After I think a little over a year of being closed due to COVID-19.
Yep, I have
Yep.
all the details. So the last day it was open was on March 14th, 2020, and their plan was to be closed for the remainder of March and reopen.
Yep. But I think that was everybody's plan.
Of course, end of March came and went.
Yep.
The next month came and went, and it just kept going back and
Coming
back
and
and
going.
back. And 13 months later, it finally reopened on April 30th. So it's finally back open, but only to California people.
Only the Californians, and I think they are at a capacity as well, just like Walt Disney World.
Mm, definitely.
Um, so that's good though, because I know just comparing the two, Walt Disney World and Disneyland, a lot more of California residents are more fans of Disneyland than like Florida residents are big fans of Disney World.
Mm,
So in terms of, well, California doesn't have annual passes anymore,
mm,
but in terms of just comparing it, I think a lot more Californians are very happy about Disneyland reopening, or just like seeing like how Disneyland reopening will help in the foreseeable future,
mm,
than probably the Florida residents were about Disney World opening.
mm.
Um, because obviously there's a lot of Florida residents that still love Walt Disney World, but the ratio of like out of state residents to Walt Disney World is way more. They get way more out of state residents than like
Mm,
Disneyland does. So
definitely.
yeah.
Well, for anybody wondering what it's been kind of doing for the last 13 months, for a while it was actually a mass COVID vaccine site. So they
I thought
got,
that was cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool. They, have a big parking lot, so I guess now you get COVID shots, or you could at Disney World. But they also have a downtown Disney shopping district, which is what Disney Springs used to be called.
Yep.
Um, but they wanted to kind of take advantage of extra space in the park. So back in November, they actually opened up California Adventures Buena Vista Street to people in downtown Disney, so they could go and shop in there. And yeah, but no one has ridden a ride since that March. And I guess now that it's open,
Now,
people
yeah.
have. So yeah, but yeah, now it's back open and people are riding rides.
hmm
Hmm.
And both Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure are back open, I
Hmm.
believe. Yep. But it was cool because I remember just seeing people post about with DCA. They just took pictures of like the park and it was just kind of clear. It would make like a really good park shot.
Hmm.
Um, but WandaVision, there was like a WandaVision like exhibit, I think on that
Hmm.
Buena Vista Street in DCA that
Hmm.
um people could visit. So I'm like, oh, me, where is this? Oh, it's in California. So I didn't even open.
uh,
So I didn't even know they like opened it back up.
hmm.
Um, but I think with Disneyland opening back up, I think it's um a big like turn of events so that you
Hmm.
can really see that the pandemic is like slowing down, which is really good.
Hmm. Well, I
Yeah.
do actually have some of the opening or theme park reopening rules. I'll just read
Okay.
you a few. So this is As far as I can tell, what you currently need to reopen your theme park if you're in the theme park business. So, mandatory face covering and weekly COVID testing for workers. Not too extreme. Performers who cannot work with a face covering must stay at least 6 feet away from all other persons.
Yep, and
Okay.
I think we've seen that, and I've at least seen that in both Disneyland and in Disney World. They actually have characters riding like pontoon boats and going through the park,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is pretty funny.
We have indoor rides may last no more than 15 minutes. So this would be
Oh,
like shows, I guess, roller
so
coasters.
they can't do have like they can't have Philharmor Magic or any of those shows happening.
Probably not.
No.
Outdoor queuing only with 6 foot physical distancing between households.
Yeah.
Parks must provide replacement face coverings to guests who lose their face coverings on a ride. Now
Yeah.
this, now this one I thought was kind of, I don't know, entertaining. But parks must discontinue rides with a high rate of guest loss of face coverings.
I can see why that they want that because I feel like if it keeps happening, like a
Mm-hmm.
face covering keeps coming off, that's why they are like you must discontinue it at least during
Mm-hmm.
now because that would be um unsafe for others.
Mm-hmm.
But that
And
is
yep.
pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. And outdoor live performances and shows only.
Yeah, I don't even know if Disney's doing any outdoor shows.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that, but
Did they bring fireworks back yet? Even?
I'm assuming probably not.
That's what I'm assuming as well.
So yeah,
Rip.
that's just a little bit of the kind of like rules if you're gonna reopen your theme park. So
That's interesting.
it
Good
is.
find.
But what you're also probably saying is, what have they been doing with the park been closed for 13 months?
Well, what
Well,
any park would do when they're closed.
do nothing. That's no. Um,
No.
what they actually have is some brand new attractions and lands that are opening actually pretty soon. So the first one is the Avengers Campus. Now this is going to open on June 4th. It's like Marvel Avengers themed. Um, so there's going to be two attractions in that. There is the Mission Breakout, which used to be Tower of
Is our
Terror.
isn't it already there
I think
though?
it's been there for
Yeah.
a few years already. Um, but then next to it they're adding Spider-Man Web Slingers, which is
Ooh,
it's similar to Toy Story Mania with that,
that's
except you don't use like a gun or anything like that. You use your hand. So you make like little
oh,
Spider-Man shapes with your hand, and you're gonna
that's cool. I
yeah,
wonder how they're gonna like. I wonder how they do that.
some fancy motion detection. But yeah,
Guess so.
there's gonna be no guns. You just use your hands, and then you're Spider-Man. So
You're Peter Parker.
you are. We have two meet and greets. We have Doctor Strange in the Ancient Sanctum. um, and then we have the Avengers headquarters where you can meet Avengers. It wasn't specific on that.
I'm assuming it's just gonna be members of the Avengers.
Yeah, so probably like
Yeah.
Captain America and Iron Man
I love how they specified a spot just for Doctor Strange.
and
Like, it sounds like the only person you'll be able to meet at this sanctum is Doctor Strange.
I'm assuming so, yes.
But then at Avengers, they can just cycle people out,
Yeah.
cycle people around.
Some other areas of the Avengers campus is a Spider-Man store called Web Suppliers. We have the Collector's Warehouse store, which is at Mission Breakout. The Collector, of course, being from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
And then we have a restaurant called Pym's Test Kitchen, which is a
Oh,
Ant-Man and Wasp food themed area.
okay. I wonder what kind of. I'm wondering how the food, like, how they're imagining food. Like, is it going to be tiny? Is it going to be big? Is it going to be, like, really tiny food and really big food? Like,
I'm not sure, but
I'm interested.
mhm.
That's intriguing.
It says, so here's the description. It says, this old lab facility turned quick service restaurant features a seating area and bar amidst decor that incorporates remnants of ongoing experiments. Gigantic soda cans, humongous condiment bottles, and massive cell phones recycled into menu boards.
Oh,
So, yeah.
for when you said giant soda cans, I was just imagining they were in Disney World for in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood Studios for a while. They had a for anybody who's not familiar, they had like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids
Mm-hmm.
exhibit where they just had where they have just like basically are in the Honey I Shrunk the Kids films. There was like big, I think they had like a Walkman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, not a Walkman, but they had like big like toys like you're supposedly like in the grass walking and these are there's these big things. So I was just imagining they were reusing some of the stuff from that set in the restaurant. They're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know. Just hearing that like giant cans and stuff reminds me of like Bugs Life, because they
Oh
used to have
yeah,
a Bugs Life land, and you were
they
the size
did.
of a
And
bug,
mhm.
and so they had like a lot of like little toys and stuff, and yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
I
So,
remember that. What replaced that?
um,
Toy Story Land replaced that, didn't it? No,
I'm not entirely
Cars
sure.
Land. I think it was
It
Cars
might have
Land.
been Cars Land, yeah. So I don't know.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing opening on June 4th, the Avengers campus. And then I guess we can move on to kind of the next. It's not a. It's kind of a update to a ride. It's a ride update to the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. Are they doing, do you know if they're doing that because of the movie that's coming out?
Potentially that, but I read an article and I'll give you the summary of this. Okay. So this is a quote. This is not a re envisioning of the entire attraction. It is the Jungle Cruise you know and love, with the skippers still leading the way. Disney Imagineering creative profile executive specifically mentioned the negative depiction of natives in the attraction as one of the scenes that will be changed.
Oh.
Um, few scenes will be added or redone to create a more cohesive storyline. Part of this introducing new characters to the ride, including another skipper and his crew. We'll be getting more information on the backstory of explorers from the famous Rhino Pole scene. And then throughout the ride, guests will learn about where these characters came from and why they're on this expedition in the jungle.
Oh, cool.
And then the kind of hot topic, of course, is Trader Sam's. And he now has a store, but sadly, it's been raided by monkeys. So,
Oh, rip.
yeah. But hopefully, he still has a great deal of two heads for one of yours. So,
Ah.
I don't know. So, what you think? Is it a good, like, changing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like in a way the pandemic maybe like sped up their like construction process. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure of like how soon they envisioned for Avengers Campus to open,
Mm-hmm.
but it might be the same with like the Tron construction at Walt Disney World where they're just kind of like speeding along with these projects and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully it means like stuff will be done and like open sooner then
Mm-hmm.
for guests to enjoy. Because I think they have a lot planned in terms of like remodeling and remodification, and I think you'll touch on that too in a bit in one of the Florida parks. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm excited to see kind of the new wave of like um especially like an Avengers themed park because
Mm-hmm.
um if you're not familiar, I know I've told you this, but for those listening, if you're not familiar with it, so Disney may own like the Avengers and Marvel superheroes. However, because of that, with that deal, they had promised that there would be no like Avengers themed place or ride in their Florida parks because Universal Studios in Orlando has an Avengers what do they call it? Avengers Island, I think.
Something like
So
that,
they
yeah.
have an Avengers themed area. So with that deal, they promised that they would never build any Avengers attraction in their Florida parks, which is why I think we're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy themed what is it, like a ride in
Mm-hmm.
Epcot, I think.
Yep, it's alright.
Um so that's why I'm kind of excited to see what they imagine how Marvel would look in a Disney park, especially with the Marvel campus. So it'll be interesting to see the comparison between how um, Universal Studios treats like the Avengers and like showcases the Avengers versus us seeing like the Marvel with the MCU, how Disney puts it up. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very intrigued for that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But here's the question: is any ride, either at any park, is any ride too sacred to change? Like, was the change to the Jungle Cruise like nah, like bad idea?
I feel like there are some rides that would be too sacred to change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Jungle Cruise is one of those, just because I feel like at this point, Jungle Cruise is kind of the ride you take when you need like a nice break and you want to like fake laugh for a little bit.
Uh huh.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but um, I think there are some rides in any of the parks where if they ever, there it's like you can't change them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in like Haunted Mansion is one of those where they can't change it all because I feel like they do a Christmas overlay or
Mm-hmm.
a Halloween overlay. They do an overlay of the fall of the Nightmare Before Christmas in the Haunted Mansion. I think that's only in California though, right?
I think it's
I
in
don't think they
Florida
do it in
too.
Florida. Is it in Florida now?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Um, but people I think would be very upset if they permanently changed like the Haunted Mansion ride into like a
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare Before Christmas sort of thing. And I think the same with like um one of Lucas's favorite rides, which I'm sure he will love to talk about, with the People Mover in Florida. The People Mover was once in Disneyland in California. However, they kept changing it around, and finally it had to be taken out. So,
Mm-hmm.
and people I think are very they love their People Mover in Florida. If Disney ever wanted to get rid of it, I think there would be a full on like
Yeah, I think there
there would
would
be
be
a lot of
yes.
petitions signed. There would be a lot of petitions signed, but
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, and I maybe I don't. I guess it would depend if Jungle Cruise maybe is a person's favorite attraction. They might have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know if Jungle Cruise is necessarily one of those attractions where it's so sacred that it can't be changed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that too?
Well, here's my thoughts on Jungle Cruise. So Jungle Cruise, um, I guess for anybody that doesn't know, it's a boat ride through a fake jungle. And apparently at the beginning it was like very factual, and they're like, here's an elephant, here's some facts about it. But then at a certain point, maybe 5, 10 years into kind of it running, people are like, well, why'd we go on that? It's just the same thing over and over. Um,
Yeah.
so they kind of encourage like the skipper, boat captain person, to tell some jokes and stuff, and it got really popular again. But I will say, having been to the parks within like the last couple years, I don't know if I've just always gotten like bad skippers or what it is, but it's kind of gone downhill in terms of kind of the jokes and all that stuff. And maybe it's just because I've ridden it so much that we know all the jokes, but um, really the skipper makes or breaks kind of the whole
Yeah.
expedition. So,
Well, I think it's just they all use the same script, so I'm not
mm,
sure if you really get a different like experience each time. Like obviously you have a different skipper,
mm-hmm,
but they're using the same jokes
mm-hmm,
and like almost the same script.
mm-hmm,
So there's not like any change to it. You're like, "Oh, I know what to expect."
mm-hmm,
Whereas with a ride, like say one of the roller coasters, you can notice something different each time you
mm-hmm,
ride it.
mm-hmm,
Um, so I think that maybe has to do with it, but um I think the problem also with for me with Jungle Cruise, especially I haven't been to any of the other Disney parks besides just the Florida park, but the Jungle Cruise seems like something you would see in Animal Kingdom more so than you'd see in like Magic Kingdom.
mm-hmm,
So I think that's another thing where it's like, oh, like why would I ride the Jungle Cruise in Magic Kingdom when I just spent a day at Animal Kingdom and could have done like
mm-hmm,
the safari tour and almost had like a very similar a similar experience of like seeing stuff.
mm-hmm.
So
What
I don't
is
know.
in Adventureland though, which is kind
That's
of like
true.
an adventure
That
Polynesian.
is true.
It is, and of
Yes.
course it's accompanied with the Tiki Room and the
Yeah.
Tarzan Treehouse or the Swiss Family Robinson if you're in California.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But to
It's
me, it just feels like it belongs in a different park
mhm,
with my experience of just like, oh, I figured this would be in Animal Kingdom rather than in
mhm,
Magic Kingdom. Even though it's just set in Magic Kingdom because that's just how all of the like Magic Kingdoms of each of the parks are set up.
mhm.
Like if you look at Disneyland in California and Magic Kingdom in Florida, they're almost relatively the same layout. They have almost the same lands minus like a couple differences, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well,
My
Animal
hot take, I
Kingdom,
guess.
yeah. Well, Animal Kingdom actually has a. It's not. Well, it's not even a cruise. It's a jungle. Not. It's not. It's a
Is it the Raft
safari.
River?
No,
They have
I'm
a
talking
safari
about the
ride
safari. It's Kilimanjaro
for a
safaris,
safari
and it's basically the jungle cruise in the desert, or I guess the
on a
plains,
car.
in a car, and there's no jokes, and it's real animals. So
Not all okay, it's not all real animals. You're seeing real animals, but the main story is not about a real animal.
actually, it
Does
is.
that
They
make sense?
changed it so it's only about real animals now.
Oh, okay. I haven't been okay. I have not been to Animal Kingdom since I was 13 years old, which is almost 10 years ago. So, yeah,
Yeah, they used to have this whole plot about like poachers, and
a
there
baby
was a
elephant.
baby elephant. Yes, that is now gone, and now it's just a full-on safari cruise. So yeah,
Oh,
so they do have that in
well,
Animal Kingdom, although they could definitely use a little more help in Animal Kingdom, in my opinion, with some more rides. But you know,
you've
Jungle
got you've
Cruise
got
is where it is.
you've got the Avatar area though too now, so that
Mm-hmm.
helps Animal Kingdom a little bit.
Yeah. So, any other final thoughts about the Jungle Cruise, or
Just
uh,
Disneyland opening in general.
yeah, in general?
Um, I think, like I said before, I think I'm excited because um, it just kind of shows that things are opening up again and stuff
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit safer. And it kind of just was like now you can actually see some of the new stuff Disney is like doing in terms of attractions,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really fun because um, it's nice to just get excited about new Disney attractions again.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Any final thoughts, or are we ready to move on to the next part?
I think we're ready to move on.
All right, relating to these magical, wonderful parks, um, one thing that is also back, along with a couple days after the Disneyland opening, is yesterday we got word that the Disney College program is back. The Disney College program is a program, or the DCP, which I'll probably call it for the rest of this little bit of second, is a program where Disney hires. You can spend a semester. Working for one of the Disney parks. You can usually take some classes if you would like, and sometimes universities have that tie into your semester. But you
Mm-hmm.
basically get to live and work at Disney for an entire semester. Um, so yeah, the Disney College program is back. I believe it's only back for reading the article, back in only the Florida parks right now.
Mm.
They did not open it back up in Disneyland yet.
Okay.
But however, they are only opening it up to US residents, so they're not having any international students come
Mm-hmm.
yet. Or what was the other note they mentioned? There was another note they mentioned where they're not doing this part of the Disney College program yet either. Um, but yeah, it's like a pretty cool program you can do if you're a college student and want to kind of studying abroad without studying abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you do get paid. It's like a paid position. You get to live on or close to Disney property, and
Mm-hmm.
you just get to work in one of the parks for a semester, or longer if you so choose. So regarding the Disney College program, we have not done it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it was something I thought about doing, but
Mm-hmm.
never got the chance to. I do know, I think a couple people who did it, and then Lucas also knows a few people or like at least one person who's done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've heard it's like a big hit or miss for people,
Mm-hmm.
just based on where they're placed in terms of where they're working in the Disney parks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it depends on what like place you work in. So obviously if you're a photographer or like a greeter at the doors of like Disney World of
Mm,
like Magic Kingdom, you might have a much better time than someone who is maybe working at one of the resorts and
mm,
won't get to experience that magic every day.
yeah.
But um what are your thoughts on that?
I was thinking about this today, and so obviously I've like heard the stories of like it's good or it's bad, and I think it really kind of like boils down to a few different things. And the first thing I think is that when you think about like Disney World, you think about or give Disneyland if you do Disneyland, you think about like vacation, and
Hmm.
I think
And magic
in
and
Magic, and you think you kind of like get in this mind that it's gonna be like a vacation every day, and it's gonna be
it's
great.
work.
And yeah, it's work, and it's great to walk around the park for 8 hours a day and ride rides, but you want to stand behind a console for 8 hours and push buttons. So I don't
And
know.
then have guests and have customer service with guests and stuff.
Hmm.
A lot of which is probably good, but some of which cannot be so good. So,
Hmm. So I
yeah.
think that's kind of like one thing is like people expect it to be kind of like a vacation, and it's really just a full time job that you're. It's like a gap semester or gap year or
Yeah.
whatever. So I know that's the first thing I think about it, and then the other thing I've heard about it is that some of the people that you encounter there are I don't know kind of high energy or you don't really
Hmm.
want to be around. And to what I think about that is kind of like my own experiences, and what I would kind of think of it is like if you went to a camp, like an overnight camp for say like theater or drama, but you weren't like a theater or drama person, you'd probably be pretty annoyed by people. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, probably.
mhm. I
But
mean, like for me, I was always in like band and music, so when I was with those like band and music people, especially when I'd like go on the trips and stuff, that's kind of all we talked about. And luckily I liked that kind of thing. But if you really didn't like that kind of thing, I can see where it'd be kind of like, yeah, this would be great. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So I think that's kind of like the two things are kind of the like you don't really know it's work and you just don't really like the environment. So I think that's
Hmm.
kind of like why people wouldn't really like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, on the next topic, do we regret not doing it or would we do it? So, I put that would we do it in there because
Mm-hmm.
Disney also, with the reopening of with the reopening of DCP,
Mm-hmm.
they're allowing people who have graduated within the last 24 months or two
Mm-hmm.
years to apply and work for them. So that is with us. We both just graduated in
Mm-hmm.
December, so we are almost 6 months out now, which is very shocking to me. Um, but we are within that little bit of a gap.
Mm-hmm.
So, how would you like to start? Do you want me to start? What do you think about it?
Well, I'll start. So
Okay.
I was always like, so I knew what it was, and I knew that it was, it wasn't like doing these super great jobs, as being a janitor, operating the rides. But I was always like, I want to do this. Part of me is because I really want to like see like the backside of Disney and like
Hmm.
go on like the utilidors and go behind the scenes of rides. So I was always like, I would do it. But I always wanted to wait until I was 21 just so I could, go to like nightclubs or bars or whatever, 21 things.
Drink
Um,
around Epcot.
yeah, something like that. So I
Yeah.
always wanted to wait, and then um, I don't know, just like a mixture of COVID and people telling me not to do it. It just never really happened. I was kind of like hoped it would, but it just never really did. So I definitely do it, but I mean, even now I'd do it, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I necessarily regret not doing it,
Mm-hmm.
just because I feel like it'd be a very difficult semester to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it would have been fun, but I think, like you said, I think it might have ruined the like magic or like a vacation for me. So I'm wondering if I'd
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it less if I actually worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kind of like I feel like when you work at like like Walmart or something,
Mm.
you might not enjoy going to Walmart as much. Or that's a bad example because I don't shop at Walmart very much. But like Target, like say like a big like meme is like people love walking around Target. I love
Mm.
walking around Target. But I feel like if I worked at Target, I wouldn't want to go there outside of work, you
Mm.
know? Like I'd be like, oh, this is my free time. I can go do this. So,
Mm.
um, I have been pondering if I do want to apply just to see if I could do it.
Mm.
However, like you said, it probably also won't happen for me, but we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. So I'm very open. But
Mm.
yeah, that's exciting that kind of a good thing in Disney's like history is getting all these college students to work for them. That thing is back as well.
Mm. So, but yeah, I would do it if I had the opportunity. But I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Mm. So yeah. Any other
Hmm.
thoughts on the Disney College program?
No, but we're gonna get next into this exciting topic that you're just dying to talk about with your Epcot shirt on over there.
We are. So if I was actually in the college program, where I would want to be is pretty obvious to me. I'd want to be in Epcot. Um, it's my favorite park. It's also a park that hasn't gotten a lot of love recently in the past 10, 20 years by Disney, but it's gonna get some love. Well, it is getting love. I'll say that. Um, there's a whole new planned upgrade for the land. Um, Partially it's because the 40th anniversary is happening, 2022, because it opened in 1982. So, yeah, should I run through some of the kind of new improvements to the park?
Yes, do it.
Okay,
I'm excited to hear. I only know a few.
so these were all announced back at D23 in 2019. So
Oh
Epcot,
wow.
I know, Epcot will be unified with four neighborhoods that each speak to important aspects of the world and its people. We have the World Showcase, World Celebration, World Nature, and World Discovery.
What areas are in each of these? Obviously, World Showcase is the World Showcase as we know
Mm,
it, but what about the other?
I'll go through that in a second. So
Okay.
I'll tell you about some of the things that they talked about. So the first thing is that there's going to be a Mary Poppins in themed inspired attraction, but I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be.
It's gonna be in England then,
Yep,
if
in
they do add
England.
it in the UK pavilion.
Yep.
Okay.
Um, there's also two fireworks shows. The first one was Epcot Forever, which I got to see, and it was like a throwback to all the best Epcot moments. That is now done, but
He loved it.
I
Fun
did
fact.
love it. It's pretty great. But the new one is called Harmonious, with the last two letters being a capital US, us. So
Wow.
brings together that theme of like everyone together. And it'll apparently be the largest nighttime spectacular ever created for a Disney park.
Ooh, bigger
Hmm.
than Magic Kingdom.
Yep,
They got a good fireworks show too. Or
they
they did.
do. Um,
Hmm.
let's see, other kind of additions will be the Remy the Ratatouille Adventure in France, and then there's also three new films around the pavilions in France, China, and Canada. So yeah, but
Remy, my
let me
fave.
go through the different lands. So that was sort of like World Showcase. But let's talk about World Celebration. So this is an area, this is like the main entrance area. It includes Spaceship Earth and just kind of that middle walkway area. And I guess what's left of Innovations and where Innovations was. So there's going
Oof.
to be a new pavilion for live events and festivals. Um, that's all it said about that. And then a revamped entrance statue. There's actually pictures online. It's pretty cool. It kind of pays homage to the original statue that was there and then got knocked down.
Oh,
Yeah, and also leave a legacy, which was those giant rocks right in the beginning, have now been moved. So
Where are they moving then to? A different area?
they're just outside the park right now. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but
Cleared
people
them all out.
paid to have their image at Epcot, and it's still there. So, and actually, this is a fun fact: the members of I think it's the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC are on one of the rocks. So you can go find that.
Wow.
I'm not sure if it's NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. It's one of those
Can you
two.
still can you still be on the rocks? Let's go on a rock.
No,
Oh,
I think
sad.
that ended. It was like around because it was the like 2000 millennial celebration.
Mm,
So I think you could like do it up until like 2001 or something. So
oh, missed it.
I know there were a lot of empty rocks. I remember that. So obviously they didn't
Hmm.
sell them all. Um, but kind of going off from World Celebration, we go to World Nature. So these are the land and sea pavilions. They're right next to each other conveniently.
Hmm.
Um, and there's also going to be a new kind of, I would call it like a garden walk. From what I can tell from the pictures, it's the Journey of Water, which is inspired by Moana.
I was gonna say, is that the Moana themed
Hmm.
area that they're going to bring into play?
Yeah, so best I can tell, it's like a walk with like water features.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that's what the pictures look like? So
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is super exciting. The Land Pavilion is getting a new film called Awesome Planet.
Awesome.
Awesome, and that's all the updates to the world of nature.
Okay.
Next, we go on to World Discovery. This is like your test track and kind of that
Mission
side of the park.
space. Okay.
Mission space, yep. But they're getting the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which took over the Universe of Energy, which was Ellen's energy adventure.
Energy adventure.
So, yep, that's coming, I guess, soon, probably. And then, in addition to Spaceship Earth? No, Mission to Mars or something.
Mission to Mars, whatever the big mission. You basically pretend you're going to Mars.
Yep.
I
In
think it's
addition to
mission
that one is
space.
the Space 220 restaurant. So it's a
Oh.
restaurant that makes it look like you're in a space station.
Oh.
So you like look out the windows and it's space.
Oh.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, so and then that's that. And then it's a revamp of the Wonders of Life Pavilion, which has been sorely neglected for a long time. It's being turned into the Play Pavilion, which is either just kind of a playground or I don't know, like a playground.
It looks like it was like with the concept art I've seen, it looks like it might be like a little city that like
Mhm.
people can like run around, like a layout of like a city that
Mhm.
people can like walk around and like run around in, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminded
I don't
me
know.
of. Otherwise, it reminded me of like Wreck-It Ralph 2, um, just with like all this stuff on the walls and so yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to finally go inside Wonders of Life.
Yeah.
It's been closed for 10, 15 years. So
Abandoned.
abandoned basically.
Except for the DVC, the Disney Vacation Club lounge, I think on the
No, that's
that
that's
was
the Imagination Pavilion.
oh, I'm sorry.
So Wonders of Life
Getting my
was used as a like a convention space.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, they used it for was it Food and Wine they used it or when did they use what
Probably.
festival did they use it for?
I'm sure kind of like all those Food and
Oh,
Wine,
okay.
Festival of the Arts, probably all those kind of things. But I've never been inside, and I'm excited to finally cross over the rope. If you've ever been there, I guess you know pre now, there was just like a rope up. It didn't even say like cast members
What it
only.
was.
It said do not trespass. So
Oh,
like they totally
they're really
knew.
like don't come.
Yeah. Epcot, for those of you that don't know, is kind of like it was a hotbed for like back seeing, exploring and stuff. So yeah, it actually said do not trespass on World of Life. So I thought that was kind of weird, but I'll finally get to go inside the Golden Dome. So yeah, I'm
Cross
excited
that
about
off your
that.
bucket list.
I know, I'm really excited. It's too bad I never got to go when it was actually Wonders of Life, but um, Yeah. But otherwise, currently, I recently saw a picture. It was of the like main center of the park, right where Interventions and the Electric Umbrella and the fountain was, and that's totally gone. It's just
Mhm.
a dirt lot now, and I think like a concrete foundation of where Interventions, I want to say it's west, was, that they tore down. So I guess that's where the Moana themed park is going. So
Yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts on Epcot?
Um, I mean, I have not experienced Epcot in quite the real life extent as Lucas has, only
Mm-hmm.
because I've only been to Epcot once, but I know a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
um, Technically, if you want to count twice for just the fact that we walked right by Epcot when we got on the Skyliner when we were on our trip like when we were on a trip together,
That's
but
true.
um I've only really been in Epcot once and experienced it once.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I guess I just know how much history is in Epcot, especially in terms of like abandoned attractions and like rides and everything like that. So I'm kind of excited that it's gonna get like a revamp and hopefully become more of a like full experience park
Mm-hmm.
um like Magic Kingdom is and like Hollywood Studios is going to be with how much they've had an overhaul in the last like 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but hopefully I'm hoping with like all of the um what's the nickname they call it? I forgot what they call it for sure, but all the like licensed characters coming in, I hope it doesn't really take away that feel of Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they're really respecting what Epcot truly is about,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just bringing all of these character themed areas in.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe having just like a Guardians of the Galaxy themed ride, as well as like Moana will bring more people in, like um, what is the Frozen themed ride? Frozen
Frozen Ever
Ever,
After.
yeah, Frozen Ever After kind of did,
Mm-hmm.
even though it did wipe out Maelstrom, Rip
Mm-hmm.
Maelstrom. But yeah, I'm hopeful that like the overhaul will make it look kind of new and fresh too, and won't necessarily have like will have more of a futuristic vibe than
Mm-hmm.
just like an um futuristic vibe that was what we imagined in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Well,
know. What are your thoughts on it though?
well, I'll say this. So, obviously, Epcot was, opened in 1982, and it was like, this technological wonderland. They had all this stuff with like interventions. They had all these like different computers and all this like upcoming technology, and it all kind of like kept up and they expanded, and then about 20 years later in like the 2000s, stuff was kind of getting old. The other thing I'll say is if you've ever been on Spaceship Earth, that was kind of the only ride system there was. There really was no like roller coasters, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Living with the Land was a boat ride, which is basically the same. The Seas is an Omnimover system, just like Spaceship Earth. The World of Motion was also that. Horizons was also that. And
Love Horizons though. I would love to ride Horizons.
and then I'm not sure. I think Universe of Energy was always just those like slow moving things. So there was never a thrill ride, and they were just basically like the same ride over and over.
Hmm.
But the park really wasn't like an amusement park. It was like more of educational,
Yeah, and you
and
learn a lot.
it was about learning stuff. But in 20 years, a lot of things changed, and a lot of things are, you know, that were once not known are now known a lot. So, the 2000s came, and it was kind of time to like change stuff and like update stuff because, um, from what I've heard, like Wonders of Life, which was all about your body, a lot of the like kind of like information they were telling you was pretty out of date. But yeah, so that's when they kind of like started closing stuff and changing stuff, and that's really when they kind of like had this like battle of like, what do we do with Epcot? Because do we want to like keep it this old stuff, or do we want to bring in new stuff? And
Hmm.
for a long time, there was no like characters in the park.
Yeah.
There really was like no Mickey Mouse, no Donald Duck, and it was kind of like by design. They didn't really want this to be that. They wanted it to be like this kind of more educational, like adult park. So
Mhm.
the only character in the park was actually Figment for a long time, um, and now I think he's just kind of turned in like symbol of like the festivals, but he's still kind of
Yeah.
there.
I
Um,
feel like he's still Epcot's mascot though. Like when you think of
mm,
Figment, you think of Epcot.
he is, but only really to the diehard fans, I'll say. I think
Yeah.
to most people, they don't really know what it is. And here's the other thing: Disney doesn't really cater to the hardcore fans. They cater to everyone, and most everyone doesn't really care about Epcot. That's
Yeah.
kind of the truth of it. Well, especially now with everything torn up, it's really not like the best experience if you're not really kind of invested in the history of everything.
Yeah.
So,
Or you're just going there for the festivals. I feel like a lot
mm,
of people I feel like Epcot was very for me split because
mm,
I forget that Epcot has because they have both the World Showcase and they have
mm,
all these other like this other section, but there was no connection there for me
mm,
before in a way.
mm,
Like how I feel like with like Magic Kingdom, everything's like interconnected in that way.
mm,
With World Showcase, everything's interconnected. But like World Showcase itself just feels separate from the rest of Epcot. So I think now with all these upgrades, it might feel more like a more complete park or put together park.
mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Like the
originally it was we had World Showcase, which was like, a world fair. You can go to different countries, and then there was Future World, which was just everything else.
yeah.
Because originally the future was this new technology, and then
Mhm.
of course now it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking about this. So speaking of wonders of life, the kind of like big part of that was Cranium Command. And recently, this was a couple years ago, the animatronic known as Buzzy was allegedly stolen.
Yep.
Um, so I was kind of like thinking about all of that, and it really got me thinking about like the way Disney kind of like preserves these important artifacts and how they kind of like lack in it. I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
Like
they
in
should
some
take.
areas they preserve some stuff really
Mm-hmm,
well, but then they don't preserve everything
mm-hmm,
as well as it should be preserved.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So for context, Buzzy was like the commander of like this stage show. Basically, he was an animatronic robot,
Mhm.
and then when Wonders of Life closed, they basically just like left him locked in place, and there was like one single light bulb illuminating him in the darkness. um, and eventually, someone stole his clothes and sold those. And then somehow some say it's like 300 pounds, some say it's like thousands of pounds animatronic was stolen, and from what I know it's still stolen, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I had this thought today of why ship all this stuff to the archive where no one can ever see it except at like super special ticketed events, when they could just take some space and say like Epcot or Magic Kingdom and like display those for people,
Yeah.
like create a little
Yeah.
museum in the park, and then you get some kind of like diehard fans to go in there, or just like people to go in there, and you could like change it up every once in a while. And I don't know, I think that'd be very good. What do you think about that?
I think that would also be good. I feel like that could be something that they maybe do eventually. I don't know if they have
Mm-hmm.
enough. Um, I feel like maybe they would if they had like a museum, say at like Walt Disney Studios in
Mm-hmm.
California, maybe they put some of that out or wherever well like the park like the Disney parks headquarters is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could be a place where they put it too. But
Mm-hmm.
I also just noticed that if we can show this video, but I have like a hidden Mickey behind me with my record.
You do, you do.
Yep. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Build a museum, because then you could like see artifacts of the park in the park. It'd be awesome.
mhm.
So yeah.
Let's go take that to the Imagineering and just be like, we got an idea for you.
I feel like it'd be popular, Well, for a long time they had
Yeah.
just Innoventions, which was like this empty space. Why didn't you put it there? Um, no, but I don't know. I mean, they have.
Honestly, though, you just build like a museum on Disney property, and then you don't charge them a whole entire park fee. You charge them like maybe what the Grand Ole Opry charges, like $40 to $50 per ticket, and everybody can just come look at this. It's an
Why
experience.
I don't know about that. See, I think like just a little section in the park is what they should do.
Yeah,
Or at Disney Springs, they have like a little walkthrough thing, but it'd be like, free. It wouldn't be. You wouldn't pay for it.
but
Um,
like, where would you find the space to do that in the parks when space to them is already so valuable?
well, at this point, yeah, that doesn't really happen at Epcot. But I mean, before when they had like interventions, they had just this huge like empty space that they weren't using. So I don't know. It's a something that would be cool, to see all these artifacts.
Theoretically, they could still build it on the Disney property
Mm-hmm.
because they have a lot of space that they're
Mm-hmm.
not using, at least in Walt Disney World. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they'd be able to do it in California just based on how Disneyland was kind of set up
Mm-hmm.
in Anaheim. But I think in Florida, they could definitely just set up a little section which could just be like a museum
Mm-hmm.
in like Disney property, but
Yeah, definitely.
in their 40-mile radius, whatever. They have. I saw that it's like 40 square miles or something that they like have of
It's
like.
pretty big. It's bigger than the island of Manhattan. So it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, but yeah.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on Epcot?
I don't think I have any final thoughts on that. I think we covered it. I think I'm finding out I have a lot of Disney hot takes tonight
Yeah.
with this recording, so
Well, okay then. I guess on to the next one.
yeah. Speaking of Epcot attractions and rides, we've reached the segment that we're actually going to talk about. Not necessarily, was some of these are just our favorite rides probably in the parks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
say if we only had to ride one ride again in these specific parks, this would be it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, a lot of this is my own like dream rides that I would love to ride if I could go to each of the Disney parks. So I don't know if everybody completely knows this, but Disney actually has like parks internationally as well. So you have your two resorts in the U.S., which are
Mm-hmm.
Walt Disney World in Florida, and then Disneyland in California.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a Disneyland resort in Europe in Paris. It was originally Euro Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just Disneyland Paris.
Mm-hmm.
That has two parks on its resort. And then you have some in Asia as well. You have Tokyo Disneyland, which the resort has Tokyo Disneyland as well as Tokyo Disney Sea, which
Mm-hmm.
is Disney Sea is supposedly one of the best themed parks in the world.
Uh-huh.
That's what I've heard. Would love to visit it one day. As well as they have Hong Kong Disneyland, which is in Hong Kong, and then their most recent park that they built in 2016 that I was just thinking about today. I watched some YouTubers go and do like opening day at Shanghai Disneyland. So Shanghai Disneyland, which is the first Disney resort in China.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so a lot of I've deep dived into international Disney parks. I think a little bit more, maybe than Lucas has, like I think than you have before today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because I'm like, wow, I would love to go to an international Disney park, especially Tokyo Disneyland. But yeah, so we're just gonna talk about some of our dream rides if we can go to each of these parks. Obviously, with Walt Disney World, we've both been to the Disney World parks,
Mm-hmm.
so we're just gonna talk probably about our favorite rides. Um, I I'm very interested if I can guess what Lucas's rides are gonna be for each of the parks. I'm not sure if he can guess mine, so I kind of want to play that game with Walt Disney World specifically, and then we're
Okay.
gonna get broader and broader into talking about these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have my list in front of me.
As
I
do
put it
I.
on a piece of paper. So I just gonna go right down the line. And we can start off with Walt Disney World in Florida, which
Mm-hmm.
we have both been to. Um, and then starting with your fave, which we just got them talking about,
Mm-hmm.
Epcot. Do you want me to guess what ride I think you're gonna pick, or do you want to guess mine first?
Well, I actually have two choices.
Okay.
So obviously,
I can I guess the two?
well, hang on. Okay, so obviously, I've been to every park at Walt Disney World, and at Epcot, I've been on every single ride. So there's not really a dream ride to go on, but I've kind of like picked two. I've picked one that's right there that like if I can only ride one more ride for the rest of my life, I would go on that one. And then I picked one kind of like that was there at one time. So I have two.
Okay.
So which one would you like me to start with?
I think the one that you would only ride if you had one could do one more ride one more time
Uh,
is Living with the Land. Am
yep,
I wrong?
that is correct.
Yep. Um, so it's a ride that used to be there as your second one?
Yep,
Is it Horizons?
it is.
Oh, I guessed them.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, so what about you?
Um, so I put one down that I'll go with so I put one down that if I had only one ride I would ride in Epcot, it would be this one. But I have a second answer that I thought of while we were recording that I have not been on yet. So
Okay,
I will give you the two to like guess.
okay. Is one of them Frozen Ever After?
Yes, that is the second one that I just thought of. Because I
Okay.
have not been on it yet,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh, I still need to see that. But that is not the first one that I had wrote down on my sheet.
Is the first one Spaceship Earth?
It is.
There it is.
That is the like only ride that I kind of remember riding when I was in Epcot my
Mm,
one time. Just at the end with when you get to like make your own choices. That's the
mm.
one thing I remember. Um but yeah, so we can move on. So now Magic Kingdom, which is probably my favorite park
Mm-hmm.
in the Walt Disney World resort. So I can let you guess mine first if you'd like, even though I know 100% what yours is going to be.
um, I feel like yours is a hard choice. There's so much diversity at Magic Kingdom and like so many different things. But one I know that you've talked about before is the Winnie the Pooh ride.
I I was going to write that down.
Okay.
I had just have a lot of sentimental memories on the Winnie the Pooh ride. Um, I went more with like the one that I think I would enjoy the most
Mm-hmm.
in Magic Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is going to be which you want me to say what it is,
Is
or do
it
you want to guess
is
again?
it Pirates?
It is not Pirates.
Oh, I don't know. That's
It would be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, actually.
ah.
I know that's kind of going with like the very new like the newest attraction in the park.
Mm-hmm.
But I've ridden it probably twice, and just to me, seeing and being on that ride was, especially at the age that I went on it the first time, which was when I was 18, and just now having like being able to kind of remember it is very,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's a very cool ride and it's a very cool system. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just the one I would like love to ride, even though the lines are long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Lucas, what did you
Mine.
choose?
So mine is another one of those. If I could only ride one more thing for the rest of my life, it would be the People Mover.
Yes, that was my guess.
It's your personal highway in the sky around Tomorrowland. It's really good. If you've never been on it, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Apparently, it's a really great ride to ride during fireworks because you travel by the fireworks. I think that'd be really hard to plan out and like time out, but
Yeah.
it'd be pretty cool. I do want to do it at night, and for a long time, I would frequently watch like the 4K video on YouTube. So it's very good.
Yes. Moving forward, we're gonna move on to Hollywood Studios.
Hmm.
Um, mine has I don't we can guess if you want. You can guess if you want. I think you'll know. Mine is one I have not ridden yet
Hmm.
that I talk about like all the time. That I watched when it first opened. I kept watching ride-throughs of it. because I was so obsessed with it and how bad I really want to ride it. So I will let you guess. I'm
It's
hoping you get it
Rise
right.
of Resistance.
It is Rise of the Resistance. Just like how awesome it looks, just via. If I was blown away, I feel like by a ride through, I'm just kind of
Hmm.
imagining how I'm gonna feel about it when I ride it for the first time. It just is very like cool, I think, theming wise, and it just has like I think it'll show like the future of what Imagineering will do with all of its rides.
Hmm. Well, mine. So this was also another one that I picked like an old ride and a new ride, but the current ride that I would pick is actually also in Star Wars Land,
This is
but it's
Star
the
Tours.
no, it's that's not actually in Star Wars Land.
Oh, weird.
No, but it's the Millennium Falcon Run. Um,
Oh.
but see, there's like a catch. I'd want to do it with friends or like people that I'm like really close with because it's really like a cooperative
Hmm.
game for like four people.
What position would you want to do if you had to pick one?
I don't know, but I feel like it just have to be like really like everyone knows their stuff and
Yeah.
like because then it'd be like really good because I've been on it with like totally strangers and it's just chaos, you know, because like you got to push this button, people don't understand, and there's people that are
Hmm.
speaking like Spanish and yeah. So I think if you like had like a bunch of like friends that like were really into it and like really knew all the stuff, it'd be really fun. But can you guess what my like discontinue ride would be?
Oh, I don't know. Um, I was gonna say Great Movie Ride only because that's the only thing that came to mind, but I don't think it's Great Movie Ride.
It is not. So the one that
No.
I would pick is actually the Backlot Tour.
That one was cool. I remember doing
Mm.
that. Oh, I missed that.
Well, actually, at the beginning of the time, it was like an hour or 2 hours long. By the time I got to ride it, it was maybe like half an hour long. But I remember being like really cool to see all the stuff.
Hmm.
But it actually beat out my other kind of like pick for like old rides, which was the Lights Motor Action Stunt Show. That'd be
That
cool
was a
to
good
see
one
one
too.
more time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think going off of old rides, I would love to. I think Great Movie Ride would be cool just to ride one last time as well.
Hmm.
Um, that's my thing with that. But moving on to our final Walt Disney World park, we have Animal Kingdom.
Hmm.
Um, this one, I'm wondering. I don't know if we're gonna pick the same one. I'm because like you said, there's only a couple rides in Animal Kingdom, so
Hmm.
I know you're either gonna pick one of like two, I think. Um, I picked. I can tell you just what I picked. I've picked Flight of Passage. I have not been on Flight of Passage yet. I just hear it's a very cool ride.
Hmm.
Um, so my like dream, my number one ride to go on next time I'm in Animal Kingdom is Flight of Passage.
Hmm.
Um, but of what I've ridden in Animal Kingdom and what I would want to ride again, probably Expedition Everest. I don't know. I haven't been to Animal Kingdom in a long time. I don't remember what's there.
Hmm. Well, I'll say this: Animal Kingdom is not my favorite park, and it's a park that I don't think has many rides.
No.
It's definitely more of like a zoo than a theme park at this point. But the ride I picked was one that I've ridden many times, and it's Expedition Everest.
I knew you were gonna pick Expedition Everest.
Yep,
So, yep.
it's a great roller coaster if you want to ride a roller coaster. So,
If only the Yeti were working, then it would be like
if only.
if only. Um, but yeah. Moving on, we're gonna jump over to California with
Hmm.
Disneyland to start. Or do you want me to do DCA first? It doesn't matter.
Let's go with Disneyland.
Okay. So I have not been to any of these parks moving forward. Lucas has been to Disneyland,
Oh, quite
so
a while ago.
quite a while ago. Um, but as I was saying earlier, Disneyland has a pretty similar layout and a lot of the similar attractions to Magic Kingdom in Florida.
Hmm.
However, it's very compressed and small. So it's
Hmm.
very small, very together, and the ride systems are similar, but sometimes they're set up differently. Like when they had the Tower of Terror, still before it was Guardians of the Galaxy,
Hmm.
they had a different way they did their like ride system. So I think in Hollywood Studios Tower of Terror, I think moves like up and down first, whereas in California Adventure it like moved forward then moved up or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my little tidbit of information I know. Um, but the ride I would pick in Disneyland would be the Indiana Jones ride. I have not ridden that. I heard
Mm-hmm.
it's very much like Dinosaur and Animal Kingdom though. Um, so, but I love the Indiana Jones movies, so I just want to ride the Indiana Jones roller coaster.
Well, I'll tell you this. I also picked the Indiana Jones, and it's pretty great.
Wow.
It's much better than Dinosaur, even though it's pretty similar to Dinosaur.
Hmm.
Um, it's just like a lot of fun, like because you're like it's the Temple of the Forbidden Eye or something like that. So you're like,
I think you're right.
mhm. So you're like bobbing through this like temple, and like stuff's falling, and there's like this part where it feels like you have spiders on you, and it's just like super duper cool, and
Yeah.
it's something they don't have in Florida, and I'm kind of sad. And every time we go, we're like, why don't they change Dinosaur to this? And yeah, it's definitely one that I want to go back and see. But Disneyland also has the remnants of something in my heart, which is the People Mover. Um, Gone but not forgotten. I'd love to ride that once. Um,
The old
the
version
old one, the original version.
before the rocket rods
Before
or
Rocket
whatever it's
Rods,
called.
yep.
Yep.
I'd like to do Rocket Rods too, but definitely like
Yeah.
old People Mover.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool if time travel ever was a thing to
Mm-hmm.
just see Disneyland in like the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like right away opening day, but like when they like got everything down.
Yep. That'd be cool.
Um Moving forward, we're going right on
Out
that same resort.
out the front gates to what was the parking lot.
Disney's California Adventure. The opening when it was first opened, I think in like the early 2000s, it
Mm,
was not a good park.
mm-mm.
Not Michael Eisner's best work. Um, Basically, when Disney's California Adventure opened, it was a California themed theme park in California. So they had a lot of the California sites
Mm-hmm.
in a California theme park. So a lot of guests were like, "Why would I spend a day in a California themed
Mm-hmm.
theme park when I could see the real thing within like an hour or two away?"
Mm-hmm.
So, but its current rendition is getting a lot better. They don't really have a whole lot of like opening day attractions left.
Mm-hmm.
Of the opening day attractions, that ride system is still the same. They just kind of put like they like kind of did what they did with Mission Breakout, where they just kind of put an overlay of like certain characters on it.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Monsters Inc. ride is Superstar Limo.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's the same. They reused a lot of stuff from Superstar Limo on the
Mm-hmm.
Monsters Inc. ride. But my DCA, I think this is in DCA. I'm crossing my fingers it's in DCA. Cars Land's in Disney California,
Yep, it
right?
is.
Okay. I put Radiator Springs Racers.
Mm. That is also what I'd put.
I'm glad if we ever go to Disneyland and we only get to ride one ride at each of the parks, we're going to be riding the same ride.
Yeah.
Um, I only picked it just because I looked at kind of everything that was in Disney's California Adventure and just was like, this all kind of is the same. And they have a lot of what feels like carnival rides there for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. So with Cars Land, I think everything has kind of got that Imagineering touch where it is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like kind of themed well. So I think Radiator Springs Racers just would be a fun thing to ride on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've actually been on Radiator Springs Racers. I think maybe once or twice. It's sort of like Test Track, but not quite as good as Test Track. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I'd like to do it again, but there's something I'd actually want to do more. And it's a throwback, but they actually redid it. It's the OG Soarin'. So Soarin' over
Oh yeah, Soarin' of
California.
California.
So that was it was originally was. Now it's Soarin' over the world. But I think it was like the summer of 2018 or 2019. They replayed Soarin' over California. So I'd like to do original Soarin' if that's
I would love to
possible.
do that too.
So I
That'd be
miss
cool.
it. I miss it. They used to play it at Epcot, and then they switched to Around the World, and Around the World's not quite as good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, well now we're gonna move on. We're gonna take a plane from California all the way to Paris. We're gonna go to Disneyland Paris, everybody.
Ooh.
Um, so this was probably the hardest one for me to pick a ride to go on.
Mm.
Just because I I feel like I only have like a couple to choose from.
Mm.
I guess I like a lot of them, but for me, an interesting thing I would love to go to Disneyland Paris to see is just their Discoveryland, which is their version of Tomorrowland. So they
Mm.
have like a Jules Verne themed
Mm.
Tomorrowland area, which they call Discoveryland. And I didn't actually know this, but I would love to see their Hyperspace Mountain ride
Mm.
because it's like a steampunk theme. So it's like
Mm.
our Space Mountain, but with like a steampunk theme. So that would be like my dream ride to ride. Um, right now, actually, they have a Star Wars overlay on it because of the 25th anniversary of the park.
Mm.
So if you go to Disneyland Paris right now and you want to ride their Space Mountain, it's got Star Wars in it.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, we really do think alike because that was what I picked. Hyperspace Mountain. Um, I don't need to do the Star Wars one. I mean, it would be kind of cool, but
Yeah.
from what I know about like the steampunk is you actually get like you go outside the building and then you get like shot out of a cannon. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like when I was writing this list, I'm like that was one I'm like I need to like
mm,
put this on. They don't have that overlay on there anymore. They don't have like the can I don't know if they have the canon thing.
mm,
It said they had I was reading about it earlier and it said they had the it's like a they call it like Space Mountain Mission 2 or something.
mm, okay.
So, I don't really know. Um But going on that resort, we have Walt Disney Studios Park. That is a mouthful. Which I think they opened in the late 90s. It was supposed to be kind of like Hollywood Studios,
hmm
but not. The ride I actually chose was Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Ratatouille the Adventure.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna sing the song, but I know that's coming to the France Pavilion in
hmm
Epcot. But I feel like just riding the ride where it kind of began would be really cool.
hmm
To see like the first rendition of it and everything like that.
hmm I also picked the Ratatouille ride. So, we have the same thought for Disneyland Paris.
We're like, oh, I'm so shocked. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say about that.
No.
Except we'll move to Tokyo Disneyland Resort.
hmm
My of all the international parks, my like dream resort to go to. I talk about this quite a bit.
hmm
How I would love to go to Tokyo Disneyland one day and see both those parks and just kind of experience it, just because they're supposed to be some of the best Disney parks internationally.
hmm
So the one I chose for Tokyo Disneyland was Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek, which um do you know that one?
I do not. No.
Okay, so basically it's kind of like um Toy Story Mania,
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story Midway Mania. So it's the same thing where you have like you're shooting at things, but at
Mm-hmm.
this time you're in like this little cart system, and what
Mm-hmm.
you have is flashlights. So you're shining flashlights at the monsters in Monsters Inc., and that's how you're scoring points. It just looks really, really cool, and it would be something that I would probably geek out on. But what did you choose?
So I was going through the list of all the attractions at Tokyo Disneyland. I'm gonna admit I was a little disappointed. Now, a lot of them that like I saw were just kind of like clones of like other rides, or like Pirates of the Caribbean and like Space Mountain. Figured those would all be the same, but one that kind of caught my eye um, was the Enchanted Tiki Room. Stitch
Oh yeah.
presents
Yeah.
Aloha I Como Mai.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I almost put that one down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've actually seen like a couple of YouTubers that I follow when they took their trip to Tokyo Disneyland. They filmed a ride through in that one. There's only like a couple rides in the Tokyo Disneyland Resort where you can actually film on.
Mm-hmm.
So, fun fact for you there.
Ah.
But they filmed that and it was really cute and cool. And Stitches in there and yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's like really good because obviously, Stitch is Hawaii and Tiki Room is like Polynesian, so I think it really fits well together. And I think Stitch probably does really well in like Tokyo because I know they're really into like kind of like the cutesy kawaii stuff. So I think he definitely fits in a lot over there. Hmm.
Would you like to name your Tokyo Disney Sea
I
ride?
would. So of course this is the one that you think is to be the greatest of all time or whatever. Um,
Supposedly, it's
supposedly,
supposed to be like the best theme, one of the best themed Disney parks.
I don't know how it can be better than Epcot, but the ride I'd have to pick is Journey
Mm.
to the Center of the Earth, which is like it's not really a roller coaster from what I can tell. Maybe like a slowly to fast moving ride to the center of the Earth, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I also picked that one.
Oh, there we go. The other one that I did see was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, I almost picked that one too.
Um, but that really just kind of reminded me of like Peter Pan's flight because you're
Yeah.
just kind of like looking down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's one of the ones I've heard that is a very good ride. I almost picked what was it called? It was the Sinbad ride. I almost picked that one in
Hmm.
Tokyo Disney Sea too. I think it was in that one just because um it kind of leads into another ride I'm gonna mention in a bit. Um, but that was just I picked Journey to the Center of the Earth just because it looked really cool.
Hmm.
And I know especially, and it'd just be cool to see all this in real life because um, just for me hearing these YouTubers talk about how cool the attractions are,
Hmm.
but they're unable to film it. I just to see it with my own eyes would be really really cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yep. Moving on to Hong Kong Disneyland, our
Hmm.
second to last park we're going to talk about. Um, I guess I can start. So this is the like number one ride that I see at an international park that I want to ride.
Wait, let me guess. Let me guess. Is it Mystic Manor?
It is Mystic Manor. Do I talk about it enough to say that that
That's
you could
also
guess
what I
it?
picked. So.
Mystic Manor is just very cool
Hmm.
because it's basically their rendition of like the Haunted Mansion, I think, in Hong
Hmm.
Kong Disneyland. But it's the first trackless ride system that Disney produced,
Hmm.
and so it's what you see that Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is today.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a trackless ride system, and basically all of these artifacts come to life, and it's just such a cool. It looks like it'd be such a cool thing to experience in real life, and it's just the like technology and everything is crazy to me. So it would just be
Hmm.
such a cool thing to experience. But why did you pick Mystic Manor, Lucas?
I've like watched videos before, and they've always like listed it on there, but to be honest, I didn't know which park it was at. This happened a lot where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick this ride at this place," and it's not there.
Yeah.
um, I do know there is like this Pirates of the Caribbean like kind of like trackless boat system ride. I have no idea where it is, but I was looking for that, and I don't know where it is still. But I've heard Mystic Manor, and I've heard that it's good, and I've heard it from you. So yeah, that's kind of why I picked it.
the fun the thing about Mystic Manor is I think there's a ride where I think this one of the rides goes off of like Sinbad, which is a attraction at Tokyo, and I think
Hmm.
it's either this one or it's a different one at another park that goes off it, but I'm
Mm,
just like learning about it. But um, just the story, and I think the story of this one is just so unique that when you go to Hong Kong Disneyland, it just seems like a must. So,
mm.
but yeah. Should we anything else to touch on with Hong Kong Disneyland or Mystic Manor?
No, let's head to the very last one.
Shanghai Disneyland. I feel like we're gonna pick the same one for this, but
Well, I'll go first then. Okay.
yeah.
So looking through the list, I went through down the list in the very same order that we've said them. Um, and I was like waiting this whole time, especially when we got to the Asian parks, because I was like, I really want to go on this ride. I've known all about it, and then, I couldn't find it at Tokyo, couldn't find it at Hong Kong. That's because it's at Shanghai Disneyland, and that's the Tron Light Cycle Power Run.
That is also what I picked.
Yep.
Um, yeah. The this ride just looks incredible. I watched a ride through of it before we started recording, and it looks so like cool and amazing. And um, if you're a big fan of Tron, like I know you especially are, you just feel like you're in this world, like you're like in Tron. And I feel like Tron itself is a very underrated Disney film. So, you don't really think of it as a Disney movie just because it doesn't really feel like it.
Hmm.
Just seeing like Tron represented in the park and just seeing like how you ride this roller coaster too is kind of very interesting to me because you're basically like riding a motorcycle almost.
Yeah.
So,
So if you've ever seen like the Tron ride, they kind of like have these like sticks and they pull them out, and then like this bike motorcycle like engulfs them, and you're basically like riding a motorcycle,
yeah.
and it's a roller coaster. So it looks pretty cool.
And that is also coming to Magic Kingdom
It
pretty
is.
soon.
So I'm
So,
excited about that.
yeah. But yeah, I was watching that ride through it. It just looked really cool and interesting to ride. So,
Hmm.
but those are our picks for the all of the parks. Obviously, apparently we're when we go to all these international parks in Disneyland, we're gonna be on the same rides almost, except for Tokyo Disneyland. We're just gonna be on different rides there. So
Oh, there's
I don't know
nothing
who
wrong
I'm
with
gonna
that.
I don't know who I'm gonna play against on the Monsters Inc. ride,
Well,
but yeah. So
yeah. Well, let us know in the comment section what rides you would pick at each park.
hmm
Hmm.
but I think our episode has come to an end today.
It has.
This was, I think, an episode that we knew a lot of knowledge of, and
Hmm.
I'm sure we'll talk about Disney again in the future. Um, whether that be like diving into another park specifically
Hmm.
or food relation or whatever. But yeah, so thank you for watching. If you like us, give us a like and a subscribe on this channel. We'll try to keep posting more regularly. Um, but yeah, let us know what you want to hear from us and what you want to do. But yeah, thank you for tuning in.